thank you for the opportunity to present this technology and update its situation in this hall, which I consider really the cradle of the progress in what is the technological level. Although it's the first time I come here to have the opportunity to join you in this conference. Then I would like to apologize because I come from Catalonia, Spain, and I just realized that only when I come to UK, I realized that my English is very poor. So sorry for this. I will try to make it as easygoing as possible. Another thing is that, well, more or less, I started to be involved in leather sector 30 years ago, more or less, roughly speaking. At that moment, I started with, because there was a challenge, there was an objective in the company that I joined at that time. It was a chemical auxiliaries company, and the goal was to replace the chrome. After these 30 years, today, and I have to be coincident with and have to congratulate as well Professor Abbott for his presentation. Now, after these 30 years, I realized that probably the question was not the chrome. The question was probably the water itself. So this is what, in my opinion, has changed. And I am citing this because the presentation of the technology of AkzoNobel has many things to say about this. So I think this is important. Another matization or another input that I wanted to give to you is that rather than presenting just the technology itself or a product that will be the main issue in this communication, in my opinion, what is really important in the apportation, in the input from Akzo is the innovation process itself. So this presentation is more about a new income in the innovation in leather industry. This is the summary of the presentation. After a certain description of the company, because I think it's interesting for this approach that I was citing, there are these 3P approach that has been the objective or the focus in the development of this technology by AkzoNobel and his partner Grit. Finally, I will introduce or I will update to you what is the stage of commercialization of this or marketing of this technology. Okay. I was citing this model of innovation because for me it's a paradigm of open innovation, all the history of this technology and the fact that it's being taken to leather market, but not only to leather market. AkzoNobel is quite a big company in chemical industry, but has not much to relate directly to leather. So this is the first paradox, in my opinion. So it's quite an external input to leather technology. As you can see here for the figures, well, 50,000 employees, revenues of more than 2-digit billion, etc. That means that this is a company really relevant in the field of the chemical industry. But more specifically, what has been interested in the application and the development of a technology applicable to leather industry has been a very specific division of this company. And it's the production of dimethyl ether. Dimethyl ether, afterwards I will explain a little bit more about this, but is this a strange compound that is the more similar organic molecule to the water. this plays an important role in what is all the efficiency and the performance in practice and the ideas that can come out from its application. But again, I think that it's important that the first idea came from the look for several external users rather than the known at a certain moment of this product. Because as you have seen, well, the new plan of AkzoNobel is run from last year, and it has been an increased capacity of almost 50%. Let's go for the second company that has promoted this technology. This is GRIT. GRIT is all the contrary, and for this reason I am citing this scheme of open innovation and the cooperation amongst a big and a very small company. GRIT is an intensive, research-intensive company, a small one, well, with a reasonably good turnover, but with only well, less than 20 people. So it has been this merging, this partnership, that allowed to promote this technology. Now let's go to the methylated properties. And as I have cited before, for me, the more important thing related to leather industry is that performance that equals water in terms of molecular angle is quite close. It's quite close. There is only a slight difference in degrees, and some of the properties that are very important in the further application. One of them is that the ventilator can be used as extraction solvent in the production of foodstuffs and food. This is important because then all the treatment applied to skins and hides can be used in both sectors, in food industry and in leather industry as well. And this is an important fact for the, in my opinion, for what is the further projection of the technology. The ventilator is a gas. It's a gas liquefiable at relatively low pressures. We are not speaking about supercritical conditions. We're speaking about just a liquid at room temperature solvent at around 5 or 6 bar maximum. We're speaking about this. So what this allows is to think in a system that can easily separate by evaporation this solvent from what you would have extracted or removed from a certain matrix, in this case, lead. What are typical, well, I have to say this because, of course, this is important. Huh? Not everything is fine, not everything is perfect with this component. Of course, it's flammable. As all the organic components, short chain, if they are not composed if they are not fluorinated, for instance. So, with these conditions, you have to deal with a flammable product, of course, but it's non-toxic, it doesn't cause warming effect, etc. But the flammability is still there, and you have to take care in the manipulation of this. However, this is not a new material, this is not a new product. Every day, lots of tons of this product are released to the atmosphere without any adverse conditions, that's right, but are just released because are used mainly as propellant for hairsprays, especially. Hairsprays, paint sprays as well. It's a very good product to develop foams, this kind of polymer foams with a lambda, a coefficient of heat transmission, which has to deal with the isolation quite good. Now, where you were speaking about the air bubbling in the isolation of the shoes, maybe this is another thing to study or to take into account, and has other applications even for can be used as a flammable agent for flow purposes. So demise, what has been called demise technology, demise LDT technology, which is the application to leather, is it's a complementary application of this. Just a highlight of this technology. Excuse me. This is a system of total recovery of the medium. It's more than 99%. Depending on the engineering which is used, it can reach 99.5.8% almost. And well, the structure here is described the process. It's just you introduce in a digester. We call it digester, but in fact you can imagine it as a drum. In fact, the pilot plant is designed as a drum with a manhole that is closed and is able to work at pressure. Right? It's the only thing. But this has an inlet from a reservoir that operates at the same pressure than the digester. Then you carry out the process. The impregnation means the contact of the material, in this case the skins, and the dimethyl ether. The dimethyl diffuses inside the skin, dissolves the fat, and water as well, because there's the effect of water miscibility, partial water miscibility. So it's a double effect, if you want, of removing the fat and drying as well. And after this, the final part is to recover all this vehicle, which is a dimethyl ether. So the three is the outlet line that goes again at the vessel that is at the same pressure, more or less, than the digester. From here, most of the dimethyl ether is distilled at a relatively low temperature. The head source that we must use to make such a distillation can be a low quality energy source. For instance, a condensate line, something like this. A line of hot water at 70 degrees, more or less, is enough for that. Then most of the dimethyl is recovered in the tank sets, and then the liquid, the mixture of fat and water is then taken to this decanter, which here is flashed, and the remaining dimethyl ether is recovered in a storage tank which is at lower pressure. Tank 7, it's can be pressurized as well, but it's just cooled and kept at room pressure approximately in order to condensate all the dimethyl ether. The recover, as I said, can be up to 99.5%. There are always losses, as you can imagine, but the losses with this system are minimum. Some details that can be cited. Well, I have cited that we can operate at room temperature, 25 degrees more or less at a pressure of 5 bars. There's no chemical affectation, and this is the more important thing. The effect of dimethyl ether on the collagen structure is completely ubiquitous. The only physical chemical effect that is acting is the dropping of the dielectric constant. That means that at a certain point, if the content of water is low enough, you are decreasing the capacity of the collagen to ionize. That gives, at the end of the day, a more open structure of the collagen that enables all the further processes. In fact, well, this is not displayed today because it will take a long time. You can see it in the literature as well, but there are experimental constancy of getting higher uptakes of chrome, for instance, and to facilitate the penetration and uptake of the chemical auxiliaries in the processes after the treatment with the dimethyl ether in the degreasing. Just one figure more. The miscibility between the water and the dimethyl ether, which is important, is an important effect, is 35% of the dimethyl inside water and 6% of water in dimethyl. So that means that for drying, in fact, you have to use a relatively big amount of dimethyl to remove all the water. So in practice, what is one of the possibilities of the use of dimethyl, of the use of this technology, that is drying the skins or hides completely, must be combined with some pre-drying in order to make the process energetically efficient. Now let's go for the approach that has been carried out by AkzoNobel and Greek in this development. It's these 3 P's that have driven the aim. First, people. People has been the perception of a certain harmful conditions in some parts of the leather industry. Well, you know that for many of the raw materials or for many of the processes there are not so many solvents used. But in some cases, and even more when there is a high level of fat content in the skins, the use of perchloroethylene has been normal till very few time ago. And the same has been in some degreasing processes in water medium that have used white spirits or petroleum or other solvents like this. So there's a reason to use, to propose an alternative to these harmful products, and this has been one of the first aims in this development. In fact, it has been recognized, this technology, as emerging technique, and it has been filed as well in the last edition of the BREF document of the best available, of the best reference techniques coming from the IPPC directive that was issued in the last year, in fact. The definitive version. But besides this, the technology has already received from 2012 two important awards. One is the Holland, the Dutch VNCI Sustainable Award for this new technology. And this has been as well recognized at European level by the European Confederation of Chemical Industry for the same reason. So in fact, the approach to people is not only because of the toxicity of some of the products used entirely, but as well we have other needs that can be considered to be addressed by this technology. This is, if you want, a small, but is still a contribution to what is the needs of productivity of meat industry. Using this technology, we have calculated that we could use 5% less cattle to produce the meat output that is necessary today. Afterwards, we will see, as it has been cited today, I think twice already, that the use or the expense, the environmental expense that the demand of food for people will create really a problem. This technology can mean a contribution not only for the use in leather industry, but as well for the use or the possibility of the use of new raw materials, high fatty content, for the use in food industry. The second P of the approach is the planet approach, the environment in fact. That means, if we look at this projection, the concern is essentially water saving. With this technology, what is the main aim is to reduce both the water consumption in this industry and to avoid as well, as much as possible, the pollution in the water use. Both things have been addressed. Here are some figures about what can be considered the water scarcity projection. And well, this highlights, I will not insist because there are some comments that have been done already today here. But this graphic is quite impressive. This is the right, this arrow shows how is increasing the demand of production of food, and in parallel is the decreasing of available land for harvesting it. And finally, this assessment. The only solution is to increase the productivity. We are in this line. So, these are the facts. In the case of toxicity, we can consider that the use of perchloroethylene or other solvents, in the case of perchloroethylene, as a potential carcinogen and linked with Parkinson's disease, or alternatively, the use of the non-toxic theoretically systems that use water medium, the emulsifiers and so on, massive amounts of water and energy. For this reason, the fat that is produced or that is removed from the skins and hides, but essentially skins, must be incinerated or landfill because it's of low quality, be it mixed with perchloroethylene or with surfactants from what are hardly separated, resulting first in a high waste per ton of land. These are some figures that can be contrasted back, are more or less in line of what can be considered as the status of the state of the art. The technology solves, as a closed-loop solution, eliminate the risks of harmful components and reduces the disadvantages of the massive use of water and, even more important, the pollution added. The quality of fat is improved, and this is as well very important because what is nowadays a problem is converted into an opportunity of upgrading the value of the global availability of in the raw material. I mean, it's taking more advantage of what is the raw hides and skins, more value. And finally, the technology reduces the processed water and the use of chemicals and generates less wastewater. Here you can see a complementary consideration, which is the avoidance of salt in the preservation. We can reach from fresh skins or hides a status where these materials are preserved without using any amount of salt. Here you have the aspect that has completely dry and degreased sheepskin. In this case was a merino, Spanish merino, and the performance, the microbiological study that was performed afterwards in comparison with the salted sheepskins. This is up to 12 weeks, where what is observed at the beginning is that there is an additional effect, additional bactericide effect of the dimethylator as a solvent on the bacteria. This prevents the putrefaction, but then it works more or less like a salted inhibition conservation method. The trial was prolonged up to 6 months, and after the 4th, the 5th month, the skins treated, preserved with salt, started to show some growth of halophilic bacteria. It doesn't happen with the dimethyl treatment. So again, this is shown as a big opportunity to solve or to introduce a tool to avoid the salting in the preservation. This opens, in the case of double phase, in the case of wool and sheepskins, a possibility to optimize the operations, the mechanical operations prior to the beam house main operations, able to reduce and to optimize this all the manufacturing process. Thank you. In the case of degreasing, here we are considering an overview of what can be said as the classic degreasing operations. We would place ideally in what is the efficiency of the solvent type extraction, but with a big difference that I would like to emphasize. When we degrease, we make a dry degreasing, we have to dry it. The polyethylene, besides the problems of separation of distillation at 120 degrees and so on, the toxicity, the remaining polyethylene in the fat, which is very difficult to remove. On top of this, we have the energy expense, that means the drying before this. For this drying, on top of it, we have to add some products enabling to separate the fibers properly, to make additional fat liquorings in order to preserve the quality of these skins. In the case of dimethyl ether, this is not necessary, because due to the miscibility of the dimethyl ether with the water, it is not necessary to make a complete extraction of the fat to remove first the water. This is one of the key advantages. So this is a comparable efficiency of the degreasing process. So summarizing till now, we have a process which is closed loop, very efficient in terms of performance in the conservation and in the degreasing for all kinds of skins. It's very versatile. It has been, in fact, checked in very difficult and high fat content types of skins, such as seals, for instance, or reptiles of several kinds, etc. So now let's speak about what can be the current commercial situation, and it's related to the estimation of what are the markets, the end markets, and this has been the intention of AkzoNobel to choose the leather sector for its critical mass and its importance. It's true that what addresses best this technology is the sheepskins. So the sheepskins are not all that amount, of course. But if we consider all the appropriateness of this technology as a real change of paradigm, as a change of what is the transport medium from water to a solvent that is completely recyclable, then the consideration of this big market is a good chance from a commercial point of view. The same is if we consider the food industry demands, the food industry requirements. Here we are clearly looking for the possibility to implement new raw material treatments to the classic products that are manufactured in this industry. Related to the costs, we have here an example of application in the tannery that ideally would produce 25,000 skins per day, sheepskins, in what is the comparison, be it in Napa or in woolen sheepskins, for the operation of degreasing. You will see that it's about 1/4 of the cost, adding chemicals, energy, the wastewater treatment as main items to be considered. In the case of food industry, if we consider a manufacture of 100 tons of pigskins per day, this would be as well a dramatic benefit of the use of the demethylator of dimethyl instead of the current technologies used. So, summarizing, the added value of dimethyl technology can be resumed in these points. Reduction of processed water and chemicals use, low energy consumption, the generation of high quality fat and protein, so the valorization of both, improved production efficiency, and improved working conditions for the production personnel as well. I'm finishing, it's 1 minute only. What have been the challenges, the hurdles in the application of this in the markets? In leather industry, in general, I would just point to the fact that the players are relatively small. Family business in most cases, and the investment necessary for making such a change of mentality in a tannery is quite big. We are moving from a drum to a pressurized digester, which on top of it is deals with a flammable component. So it's quite impressive from one point of view, and the second is that really is an investment. But again, if there is no breakthrough, innovation in a certain activity, then nothing will change. Again, I remind this 30 years of expectation of forgetting the drums as the main actors. No? In what is the food industry, the situation is slightly better, although there's as well some resistance to changes, to the innovation. And the process of degreasing essentially is carried out through a classic cooking with water at relatively high temperature. In spite of this, in 2011, a first production site has been agreed. So the objective of commercialization of AkzoNobel with this technology is not to sell the product. And it's strange, but it's this way. They produce a chemical, they develop the technology, but this technology doesn't consume very much this product, so it's a closed loop. So it's the technology that is really sold. Again, this is a new model for leather industry, because what they are really selling, what AkzoNobel is really selling, is a license for using a specific technology. So, it is a good example that the first case has been a double activity company which deals with leather but with food industry as well, which is Holsham in Holland. Holsham, probably you know the company, most of you, has a very long tradition and is the first plant that is operating from last year at full production with this technology applied, I insist, to food industry. So, as the end message that I would like to give, of course, this is a very short time to introduce the details of the technology. There, I insist, there is some publishing that is already done, but I'm open to any question or any clarification that you want. But I wanted to put just this chart that, of course, is nothing new. But this technology addresses essentially the step of degreasing that can not only be placed here in the classic the classic room for degreasing, but with the raw skins, as I have cited before. But the question is, if we have the opportunity to change the medium of transport from water to some other thing that can be completely recyclable, why don't move from this specific and single point to the rest? This is just the last question that I put to you, and I really thank you for your patience and attention.